Hello again. This time of year, between Christmas and New Year, I mean, most people, it's traditional anyway, to think about New Year's resolutions and planning a bit for the, for next year. Well, I'm no different, and I've been thinking about this, and also thinking about, what it really means. New Year's resolutions, they don't always seem to work, as somebody said at our workshop the other week, I think this sort of last Monday actually, a week ago. But habits, I think habits work. If you troll about Twitter, there's always all these people saying, but these are the things I'm going to do next year, these are the new habits I'm going to form. And actually there's a lot of sense in it. I was just thinking back when I was thinking about this video to, a long time, when I used to live in Edinburgh a long time ago. I remember finding myself running around the meadows in Edinburgh, in the centre of Edinburgh on New Year's Day, after being out till 3 o'clock in the morning, and it's like 7 o'clock in the morning, I think, and I thought, oh, well, what am I doing here? And it was just because it was such a habit. I had this habit of doing a morning run. I did 5 morning runs a week, 40 minutes, 5 days a week. And because I had this habit, I was out doing it. Well, okay, maybe on that particular occasion, it might have been better to stay in bed as I had the day off. But it does serve to illustrate that if doing regular training consistently is something that you need to do, forming a habit is a way to make that happen. So maybe rather than thinking of what are my New Year's resolutions, like I want to eat better, or I want to do more training, or I want to go to the gym or something like that, think about what's more specifically I want to do. What habits do I want to form? What routine do I want to establish? And by forming this routine of good habits, then you make the things happen that you would have as New Year's resolutions, if that makes sense. So it's just really a case of creating more specific things that you're going to do, and then of course doing them. So things might be like I said there, do a 40-minute training session on Mondays and Wednesdays every week at 6:30 in the morning, or go to bed at 9:30 every night and don't spend time playing on my phone for half an hour before I do so that I get a good night's sleep, and then get up every morning at 6 o'clock so that I can do my training session or get on with my day. So forming these sort of good habits. You don't drink coffee in the afternoon might be one, and do an interval session at 7 p.m. every Tuesday evening, or go to the club training session at 7 p.m. every Tuesday evening, or join a club ride on Zwift at a certain time every week. So making these specific commitments is going to be much better than just making a more vague New Year's resolution. And by creating this series of good habits, you're creating the basis of a good routine, which then paves the way to consistency. And consistent training leads to progressive training and development of fitness towards your goals. So you're increasing your success of achieving your goals by creating these good habits. And this is another way of describing the goal setting process. So the goals are outcome goals, performance goals, and process goals. Outcome goals are really your dreams. So a good outcome goal, which maybe none of us really have a shot at, would be to win an Olympic gold medal. But of course, an outcome goal you don't really have control over. You've got some control over it, but if you're not the best on the day, you won't win the gold medal, and you can't control how well other people perform on that day. So the trick is to turn the outcome goal into a performance goal. And a performance goal is something you do have some control over. It doesn't really matter what other people do. So if we continue with our marathon running example, if you were to run the Olympic marathon in 2 hours and 3 minutes, you could say, well, you're reasonably likely as a male athlete to win the race. Although, I mean, people are getting faster and faster all the time, but you have to make some estimate of what it would take to achieve your outcome. Another example might be if you are doing a bikepacking event. A lot of you are bikepackers, and your outcome goal might be to finish the transcontinental race before the finishers party. Well, okay, you have got a fair amount of control over that. But you can break it down and say that if I can ride for 14 days at 20 kilometers an hour average, and I can do 14 hours a day, then I'm likely to be able to do it. I mean, you might have mechanical problems, you might have an accident, you might have an injury, so you're not in total control of it, but you've broken this down into what's known as a performance goal, is something that you can train towards Whereas the outcome goal, you can't really train towards winning an Olympic gold medal, because it's sort of not really a tangible, measurable goal. Whereas running 2 hours 3 minutes is a measurable goal. You've got to run somewhere between, I'm not sure exactly what the pace is, but it's well under 5 minute miles for 26 miles, for 2 hours and 3 minutes. Or you've got to ride at a certain pace for 14 hours a day to get to your finish as part of your complete your objective in your other type of race. So that's your outcome goals and your performance goals. But again, you're training. You can't say, "All right, I'm going to train to ride at a certain pace or run at a certain pace," because you need to have a mixture of training modalities. Like you need to do your interval training session, you need to do your long training sessions, you might want to do some gym work, you need to get your nutrition sorted out. So all these other factors come into play to achieve this performance goal. And these other factors, you need to spend some time thinking about what they will be. So say you've got to ride for 14 hours a day for 2 weeks, we have to be able to ride for 14 hours. So that's something that you've got to build up towards. And you've got to ride at a certain speed for those 14 hours. So that's something else you've got to, you can't ride at the speed now for 4 hours. You're not going to be able to do it. You need to train yourself to be able to do it for 14 hours. So you see what I mean? And similarly, the running thing. I couldn't run a marathon in 2 hours and 3 minutes because I can't run 1 mile in 5 minutes. So basically the task's impossible. But if it were possible for you, then you need to work out what mixture of training is going to achieve that goal, that performance goal. And once you've got that, then you've got how to progress towards your goal. Hopefully this is all making sense. Hopefully I'm not waffling too much. And the way you do that is you develop these process goals, which are basically a process goal is just a good habit. And you fit all these process goals into your weekly routine. So they might be, I want to do 5 morning training sessions a week to build up some base fitness, and 1 long session a week and 1 interval session a week, or something like that. I want to go to the gym twice a week. And then you need to make those more specific. So I'm going to go to the gym twice a week on Tuesdays and Thursday evenings at 7 p.m, for instance. And then you've got that in place, and then you need to make that into a habit. So there you go. You've got your outcome goal, which is you can't control, other people are in control of it. You've got your performance goal, which you are in control of to a large extent by following the process and the routine and doing the training. You can give yourself a very good chance of achieving that performance. And the routine and the training is made up of process goals that you can form habits to achieve. And one of the most effective ways I've found to develop a routine and create a habit is to tack on the thing you want to do to the thing you're doing already. So for instance, going back to when I was in Edinburgh, I used to work at a place called Heriot-Watt University, and which is about 6 or 7 miles away from where I lived in the town centre. And I thought, well, somebody actually suggested it to me, and I thought, oh no, there's no way I could do that. To run every day, run there and back. So I thought, well, I'll give it a go. And I found out that I could actually do it. And that's probably the fittest I've ever been in my life, was to run 6 or 7 miles to work and 6 or 7 miles home 5 days a week, or I used to maybe do 4 days a week, and then just do 1 run on a Friday and race on Saturday and long run on Sunday. And that was basically my routine. And I'd do a fartlek in one direction, which was my interval session, once or twice a week. And that's basically fitting my routine into my lifestyle. And it was such a habit that even if somebody said, oh, do you want to lift today? I thought, well, why would I? And actually, when you're at work already, you've got to get home somehow. And therefore you may as well run home or ride your bike home or whatever. So that's quite a nice way of doing it, is if you can commute and mix your training into commuting, then that's a good way to do it. The other way to do it is to get your day started with a training session in the morning before your breakfast. You get up a bit earlier and do that, and it's a nice way to start the day, and you've got 30-40 minutes done before you start the day, and you might want to do another session later in the day, or go to the gym or whatever like that, something like that. So tacking it on to something that you're doing already, or doing it immediately after something that you've got to do so you don't think about it, it becomes a habit, and then you're doing it and building your fitness. So it can be as simple as just having a weekly routine with something in mind that you want to make it progressive, and these goals or stepping stones in mind to progress. Say you're doing the Paris-Brest-Paris, which we've talked about. You know, you've got to do a 200, a 300, a 400, a 600 before the end of June. Well, they're your stepping stones. So you know you've got to be fit enough to do a 200 by a certain date, you've got to be fit enough to do a 400 by a certain date, 600, and then you've got to be fit enough to do the 1200 kilometres, assuming you've got in to do the event in August. And once you've got this weekly routine, then you can adjust it, like we've talked about in previous videos. If you're always tired on a Tuesday and your interval session's on a Tuesday, then basically you need to do something different. You need to do a different day for your interval session, or you need to do something different on Monday so that you're more recovered. So by making small adjustments to this routine, you can improve it, keep it simple, consistent, and by doing that you can learn from it, develop it, and make it progressive towards your goals. So I hope all that makes sense and it's useful to you. Please let me know if you've got any ideas of how to improve your routines, because it's useful for me, it's useful for my athletes, and if you make a comment, then you're sharing that information to everybody, or make a comment on the Facebook page or whatever. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye.